Hello, everyone. Welcome you to the new year, 2023. It's the 1st of January. And although I was promising to do more videos, it's not sometimes possible. And distances between videos are relatively long. I do want to get it better. And some of you asked me for this, and I will try to do it. But life is difficult, so we'll see how it goes. I think I don't want to promise anything for the new year that I can't deliver, but we will continue. So to start with the plans, I think we'll continue videos on the cognitive biases. I think they kind of go relatively well, and I just want to make short videos on each one of them. The upcoming one should have been framing bias. I'm probably going to do video on it shortly, but we'll see how it goes. And then we'll continue to investigate more. In the meantime, we'll do other topics and videos in Russian. I think the really interested in the effects some of the contemporaneous events have on our ability to kind of use our logical thinking to kind of try to weed wrong information from the right information, or rather to distinguish between information and knowledge. So we'll see what we have. And the videos, I hope, will continue. I do also want your feedback as much as you want, and then, I hope that I will continue to devolve on other subjects. I do not want to necessarily make myself too broad and talk about other areas, but I think especially around the anything about how the cognitive issues affect decision making and how they affect sense making in the business and politics. Yes, personal development a little bit, and we'll hope to touch on that and how important this is. The overall kind of history and politics, probably no, and I don't really respond to too many questions on the contemporaneous events. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I'm trying to limit myself to more wider subjects, and we'll try also some philosophy as much as we can. So I think we'll start there in the 2023 and see how we'll go. In terms of the things that are happening, it kind of goes to show how unpredictable things are. So in 2021, when I talked about the future, I couldn't even imagine that we'd be having a war of this proportion in the European continent. Nobody could. So things are truly unpredictable. So one of the important learnings here is that the experts may earn their money on predicting. Then being asked, experts are being asked all the time, talking heads on TV, whether X will happen or Y, but in truth, a lot of these events are unpredictable, and it's sometimes it's a wild guess. I think there's a couple of sources, I can't remember exactly where I've read it. Maybe you can help me, but I think like if you look at the expert opinion, I would say that there's this effect called the kind of over the um, bias of being too sure, right? Dunning-Kruger effect. And the people who sometimes don't know some areas are really kind of too sure of themselves, and they make a lot of mistakes. Then once people learn something, they become too cautious, and they probably underestimate their abilities. And then when you go to the expert level, the experts also overestimate their abilities because they kind of top of the field, and sometimes their predictions are not that great, especially in the areas of complexity such as business, politics, and current affairs. And the world is truly unpredictable place. That's why the cognitive biases all play a significant role in all this. And that's why the people who think in simple terms, including the conspiracy theories, are just wrong. And the reason that they're wrong is, things are too complex and they move in a very kind of complicated ways, so that the multiple interactions of people who are themselves sometimes just expression of their own egos, and not necessarily aware that this is happening. And then they interact with other people, influence them, manipulate them, groups of people, and then that kind of gets simplified by social media and moves in a certain direction. Politicians or the business leaders who follow these and not sometimes lead, and sometimes they lead. And these are interactions, you can call them kind of crazy dance. Is there a choreographer? Well, there are people who can attempt to be choreographers, but of this complicated crazy dance, but it's very difficult. And that's why these kinds of events arise. And then we have a war on our hands, like now. It's basically a wild card, black swan. It happened. Now, in hindsight, it's obvious. We'll talk about hindsight bias, that this has been the Russia was going that way, and it would bound to happen because that's how this is where the kind of the direction of travel for Putin's Russia was. But if it wouldn't have happened, then people wouldn't have said that, and the regime could continue to work on their own terms. This hindsight bias works both ways, as we see. So now it becomes obvious. It's like, well, the Russian Empire had to collapse. Now we have all sorts of wild predictions for the future, from the potential use of the nuclear weapons, tactical or strategic, in the future, to collapse of Russia. Ukraine winning, but really there's so many other options that are very, basically impossible to predict. Who would have predicted that Ukraine would win in such a strong way? Will it continue for the future? Maybe is the future is the past is key to the future sometimes, but sometimes not. So we don't know what the next year holds, whether this war will, affect the next year is beyond doubt, but whether we'll see significant military gains or huge kind of absolute huge defeat, I can't predict. We won't be able to do it. I don't want to even talk about it. But what we'll be able to say is that try to analyze the different sources logically and think about them when you read them. Do not try to hold to a single point of view. Just understand the forces that act on both sides, and I'm not saying that both sides are equal in their kind of truth. Okay, let's move that. But in terms of the forces acting on them, these different actors, they are influenced by so many other kind of complex issues behind them that they basically can't act other way. So let's say Putin, I don't think there is any significant scenario that Russia would stop the war, even if it's defeated. I mean, cannot under current leadership. And thinking about something beyond this leadership is almost unpredictable. So things, how I used to say, things could happen. Everything disintegrates probably in the time when you least expect. If you expect something to happen, it wouldn't happen for a long time. It's just a law. It's kind of it's not a law. It's just hard to predict. And so the resilience is what needs to happen. Whether Russia is resilient to challenges, it sure looks like Ukraine was resilient, but Russia will be resilient to the challenges it's facing. We will see. Myself, I don't really see that, and there are too many weaknesses, systemic weaknesses that I observe, but I'm not able to judge. So next year is going to be tough. So because it's so tough, I think it's an opportunity to see how people make mistakes and were they driven by anger, whether they're driven by animus and significant ego, and what this can create as a result. And we will observe that. Perhaps we will even start discussing things like nationalism and where it came from, and how this influenced what Russia is doing at the moment. And I will talk about what the West is built on, are the ideas of both liberalism and nationalism are valid and solid, or not. And I think it's really up for grabs. What are the motivations behind people's actions, behind individual actions, the state actions, and nations' actions, as an entity. Who is behind it? What's behind it? Why we have these motivations? What are the forces? And what's most important for people is actually to live a life of purpose. Purposeless lives are really, really tough to live. And purposeful life sometimes means sacrifice, and sometimes it leads to war. And so we'll talk about that. So there'll be plenty of things to discuss. But I want to finish on a positive note. It's a good year that starts. That's already past 2023. Let's hope that 2022, let's hope that 2023 will be better. We'll see more clarity, potentially, and maybe less people being maimed and killed and property destroyed. And let's see, can we model through? And every year is learning. So I wish you all the best in 2023 and wish you to learn more. Thank you very much and see you soon.